This is the WJTS News. In tonight's news, a train derailment in Princeton resulted in a fiery crash. We traveled to Huntingburg to talk with Mayor Denny Spinner, and in sports, the Southridge Raiders closed out their season with a close game at the state championships. All this and more on tonight's WJTS News. Good evening, I'm Jurnee Davis with WJTS News. A train derailment and explosion in Princeton Sunday night closed US 41 in both directions and caused a mandatory evacuation. Information about how the train derailed is still unknown. In a statement from CSX Transportation, which was operating the train, there were no reported injuries as of late Sunday evening. The Gibson County Sheriff's Office says they received several calls Sunday night about a train derailment and explosion in the area of Old US 41 and Caniff Trailer Court. First responders reported seeing the derailed train about 2,100 feet west of the mobile home park. CSX said preliminary reports indicate a release from a rail car containing propane. The Sheriff's Office said authorities issued a mandatory evacuation of an area within a 1-mile radius. Indiana State Police say traffic northbound on 41 was closed to Indiana 168 and southbound to Indiana 64. First responders went door to door to businesses and homes within a 1-mile radius, evacuating persons from the area. Those displaced were allowed to go to the Gibson County Fairgrounds. CSX, in a statement, said they were working closely with local firefighters and other first responders to assess the situation, and the safety of the community and everyone on site is their top priority as they develop a recovery plan. They say the train consisted of 2 locomotives, 89 loaded rail cars, and 9 empty rail cars. The Gibson County Sheriff's Office and the Indiana State Police will release more information as it becomes available. Indiana conservation officers are investigating a weekend drowning that happened near Milltown. Authorities say the incident took place shortly before 6 p.m. Saturday, and the recovery of 48-year-old Albert Neal Barger of New Albany was made Sunday morning just before 11 a.m. They say Barger, who had little swimming experience, was not wearing a life jacket when the incident occurred. Around 6 p.m. Saturday, a 911 call was placed, advising that the victim went missing after he and another member of the paddling group capsized their canoe. Indiana conservation officers and other responders arrived on scene, and a recovery effort was started around 6 p.m. Dive efforts and surface searches were unsuccessful and suspended around 11 p.m. Saturday. The search resumed Sunday morning at 7 using 2 types of side-scan sonar. Officers were able to locate and pinpoint the victim's location. ICO public safety divers made the recovery. Indiana conservation officers strongly urge everyone to always wear a life jacket when around water, especially if swimming ability and/or water conditions are questionable. They say the investigation is ongoing and additional information will be provided once it becomes available. The jury in the murder trial of a Rural Shoals man should begin deliberating today. Nathan Baker is accused of killing 52-year-old Tom Tharp and 82-year-old Alan Sims, both of Shoals. He is also facing 2 counts of felony burglary, 2 counts of felony theft, and a felony charge of auto theft. On Wednesday, the state finished presenting their case and rested. Due to scheduling conflicts, the defense was unable to present its side till Friday. Martin County deputies discovered Tharp's body after he was reported missing by his family. Around 10 a.m. Wednesday, August 26, 2015, a deputy with the Martin County Sheriff's Office went to a location along the 8,000th block off Fred Sims Road, north of Dover Hill, to see if they could find Tharp. While checking a detached garage on the property, the deputy found the body of Alan Sims. The body was lying on the garage floor. Sims had died from a single gunshot wound. Baker also faces 2 counts related to an incident that happened just days prior to the double homicide. In that case, documents state that Baker broke into a cabin near State Road 450 and stole several items. For that case, he's charged with felony burglary and felony theft. Baker is also charged with felony auto theft. In that case, documents show that Baker stole a vehicle from the Lagodi IGA on August 23rd. Baker admitted while incarcerated for the previous charges to stealing the vehicle. Because of his criminal history, Baker is also facing 2 counts of being a habitual offender and numerous charges in Lawrence County. The DuBois County Solid Waste District is holding a Twilight Tuesday event for residents unable to use District Process Center services during regular public hours. Twilight Tuesday will be held tomorrow, June 19th, from 4 to 6 p.m. Items normally accepted include electronics, TVs, small appliances, household hazardous waste materials, fluorescent bulbs, cooking oil, large metal items, and tires. Information on acceptable items can be found at www.duboiscountyrecycles.org and then by searching the 3R Waste Wizard or by calling the district at 812-482-7865. Residents are responsible for unloading their own items and should bring a helper if unable to do so. Twilight Tuesday is for DuBois County residents and no businesses will be accepted. All regular fees will apply, but cards are not accepted. The District Process Center is located at 1103 South, 350 West in Jasper. More details are available on their Facebook page. The Indiana University Board of Trustees approved the university's operating budget for the next fiscal year. The 2018-19 operating budget calls for spending $3.7 billion on IU's campuses across the state. IU's operating budget covers employees' salaries and benefits, as well as energy and utility costs, and planning for strategic initiatives associated with the university's bicentennial strategic plan. With this budget will come an increase in resident undergraduate tuition. A salary increase for faculty and professional staff is also included. This change means that several phases of the budget planning process will follow the cycle of tuition and state revenue appropriations, which are both done on a biennial cycle. This will allow for increased focus on long-term financial planning. Indiana's unemployment rate stands at 3.2% for May and remains lower than the national rate of 3.8%. The Indiana Department of Workforce Development says with the exception of October 2014, when it was equal, Indiana's unemployment rate has now been below the U.S. rate for more than 4 years. The monthly unemployment rate is a U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics indicator that reflects the number of unemployed people seeking employment within the prior 4 weeks as a percentage of the labor force. Indiana's labor force has a net increase of nearly 16,000 over the previous month. This was a result of a 2,659 increase in unemployed residents and an increase of 13,269 employed residents. Indiana's total labor force, which includes both Hoosiers employed and those seeking employment, stands at 3.33 million, and the state's 64.3% labor force participation rate remains above the national rate of 62.7%. In addition, Indiana's initial unemployment insurance claims continue to be at historical lows. We'll have local county-by-county unemployment numbers on Tuesday. The president of a planned $2.5 billion diesel fuel facility in Spencer County says the facility's pollution will be minimal. Riverview Energy Cooperation's proposed project would use a process called direct coal hydrogenation to turn coal into ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel. The facility would be located on a 550-acre site annexed by the town of Dale last year. Area residents have expressed concerns about the project's potential health impacts. A forum was held last week at Forest Park High School in nearby Ferdinand. Company president Greg Merle says the site won't store any waste because everything the process produces can be sold. He says the process would produce minimal emissions. The Indiana Department of Environmental Management is reviewing the corporation's application for an air pollution permit for the project. The town of Gentryville has a new marshal. Heather Overstreet has taken over the position in the wake of former Marshal Robert Bone's resignation. Bone accepted a position as a police officer for the town of Santa Claus. Overstreet has been a reserve in the Gentryville Police Department since early 2017. And she also works as a dispatcher with the Spencer County Sheriff's Department. Bone says she has performed well as a reserve and should seamlessly take over duties as the community's primary law enforcement officer, giving her experience working in the area. In addition, Overstreet had already reached out to Chris Lee, a current reserve officer in Huntingburg, to fill the vacant reserve position in Gentryville. Lee agreed to volunteer his services at no cost, just as Overstreet did during her time as a reserve officer. This ensures that the town would continue to have 2 officers in their police department. Now stay tuned as we travel to Huntingburg to speak to Denny Spinner on Monday with the Mayor on 18 WJTS TV, followed by weather and sports.